This week on the Inside Athletic Training Podcast, we welcome in Chris McDonald, Detroit Tigers assistant athletic trainer, to talk through all things his career, spring training, and preparing for the upcoming Major League Baseball season. Enjoy the show. All right, Chris, welcome back to the Inside Athletic Training Podcast. Always good to chat with you about athletic training and all things of the profession. This time for episode number 82. Want to start today by getting a little bit of background information on your career and kind of what inspired you to get into athletic training for those listeners who might not have heard you on the previous show.
First off, I'm honored to be back on here again. Love helping out. To talk about my background, I started back in 1994 as a clubhouse attendant at Tiger Stadium, working and checking out what other professions were around while I went through high school and college. Met Russ Miller and Steve Carter and decided that was what I wanted to go into. Studied at Bowling Green State University, and which led to an internship down in Lakeland with Doug Teeter. And after the internship, that opened up the doors to my first staff season of 2001 in the previously Gulf Coast League. I spent 19 years in the minor leagues. During that time, I also worked 8 years of winter baseball in the Dominican Republic, 1 year winter baseball in Venezuela. And in 2020, it all kind of came to fruition and was promoted to the big leagues as a second assistant.
Yeah, awesome story. I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a local guy from the area, Detroit, Michigan, definitely. What was that, 2020 when you got the call up to the big leagues? Reflect on that a bit. I'm sure, you started super young in the clubhouse. I'm sure you never imagined kind of like being in there, taking care of players that you grew up watching. What was that feeling like when you kind of broke through and you're working at the stadium that you kind of idolized growing up?
At first, it was a little surreal, seeing the clubhouse kids in the clubhouse thinking like, that's what I used to do. And now here I am now in all of the disaster of the 2020 season, thanks to COVID. Sure. It was really special when we finally had our opening day, even though no fans were there, to be able to walk out on the line and be introduced as an athletic trainer where I had been the bat boy for so long. Ball boy, clubhouse guy. It was pretty awesome.
And when you got up there, or early days when you were working in the clubhouse, did you kind of take notice of what the athletic trainers were specifically doing? Why do you think that kind of caught your eye in terms of like, hey, I might want to do this?
I thought I knew I wanted to work in professional baseball, and it was an opportunity to see all the jobs that people don't necessarily recognize. Yeah. And when I saw what the athletic trainers do, how they help the players to reach their goals, help them stay healthy, get healthy after they've been hurt, it really piqued my interest. And I started we didn't have a whole lot of downtime, but when I did, I started trying to pop in the training room and just kind of observe and pick their brains as far as what they were doing, what path they went through, if they could give a recommendation as far as the path for myself. And it paid off.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear about, the jobs that people don't get to see. They see the managers, they see, fortunately they do see the athletic trainers in the clubhouse, in the dugout. But there's so much more that goes into getting a team ready to play. And I think that's really cool that you were able to observe that as a young kid and kind of sparks your interest in athletic training. So you've been with the Tigers, like you said, for a very long time. We talked the last time you were on the show about your role with the club, duties during the season. I think it'd be interesting today to kind of walk through the off season. So athletic trainers are incredibly busy. There's 162 games, 80 plus on the road. A lot of people might think you're kind of just at home, hanging out, doing whatever you got to do to get ready for the season and the off season. So let's give them some insight into what the off season looks like for you. So first off, being a local guy, I know a lot of people might not live permanently in the city where they work. Do you spend your time in Michigan the off season? Are you back and forth to the facility? How much time do you kind of spend in both places?
So I spend my off season in Orlando.
Okay.
when I was in the minor leagues, kind of took a look around and said, I can live anywhere I want in the off season. It's too cold in Detroit. Let's get some warm weather. Need some sun.
Yeah.
And I bought a place in Orlando. So after the season, I come down here, and I'm only about a half an hour from the complex in Lakeland
Okay.
that I can get there if I'm needed. So it's a good spot where I'm down here, access to the facility, but I don't necessarily have to go into the facility every day.
Hmm. Yeah. And do you get up to Detroit? Do you guys have meetings often with like front office or Ryan Eubanks and Kelly Rhodes who are on your staff who we'll talk to? How much do you get up there if any at all?
I usually get up to Detroit once during the off season for work purposes. I still have family in the area and get up
Sure.
there for that. But I just got back from a trip to Detroit. We were loading the equipment truck with our travel trunks. As this season we open up on the road, so we're going to break from spring training. Had to make sure we have everything we need to start the season on the road that makes its way down to Lakeland. And then
Yeah.
we had a continuing education course for our strength coaches and athletic trainers. So it kind of combined the two. But with the evolution of Zoom, we are in constant contact. We have weekly meetings. I think it was maybe a week after our season ended in October, and we fired up our first Zoom meeting, and we've had them pretty much every week.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to think that you're already kind of navigating like where are we going for week one of the season right now is crazy with spring training not even started. So goes to show the planning and the preparation that athletic trainers do, and working with the travel staff, and it's not all just taking care of the players. There's a lot more for those out there who are looking to get into the game, a lot more stuff that goes into it than just running on the field when someone's injured or getting people ready to play or rehabbing. So cool to hear that from you. One thing that's difficult for athletic trainers is just kind of like a work-life balance. I know a lot of our guests have mentioned that really does not exist for the most part. But how do you balance kind of spending time with your family, knowing spring training is kind of like it's approaching, it's coming up, and you're going to be gone and really in the thick of it pretty soon?
I've been blessed with an amazing daughter. She's very understanding of my job. She knows what I do. She knows the requirements. So we keep in touch during the season. We try to have a weekly dinner date, father daughter dinner date once a week,
Hmm.
where we can just go and she tells me about her week and school and her friends, and I know all the tea on all of her friends, and it's pretty cool to listen to her talk about her week. We do it once a week, and it's I wish it could be more, but with her busy schedule and my busy schedule, it's just enough.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear that you're doing that and carving out as much time as you possibly can. I know it's difficult with what you guys do. Shifting gears a bit to kind of communication with, I mentioned Ryan Eubanks, Kelly Rhodes, two other members of the Major League Athletic Training staff. What is the communication like with them during the off season? You guys talking every day? Is there like a Slack channel? Like, how do you guys operate in the off season? Because I know during the season, you're sitting next to these people on flights. You are in the training room with them every second, basically. What do you guys do to kind of make sure you stay in touch in the off season, but also give each other space? Because I'm sure you can't be with somebody every minute, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. We all need breaks, and after 162 games plus spring training plus postseason, hopefully becomes a regular thing. It's it's nice to get away, but as we desire to improve our athletic training staff from 24 to 25, we've had weekly Zoom meetings at least with our sports medicine and performance team. We've had Zoom meetings with just the three of us. We've had at least once a week we're on a Zoom call where we're communicating as far as what we've got going on, whether it's follow-ups to players, whether it's assessments, planning for spring training, anything that comes up. We've had a lot of meetings.
And shifting gears to the other side of things, you obviously are your role is to keep players healthy, rehab, keep them on the field. That's the baseline of an athletic trainer. What's the communication like for, first of all, big leaguers who you work with and you'll see, people on the 40 man. And then also, how much are you communicating with players like that might be at different affiliate levels or non 40 man guys throughout the offseason?
So between the strength and conditioning staff and athletic training staff, we try to touch base at least once a month with every 40-man player,
Okay.
find out where they're at with their workouts, what they're doing baseball activity wise, how everything's feeling, just so we can make sure that they're where they need to be throughout the off season heading into spring training so that there's no surprises when everybody reports in February. As far as the minor league guys, it gets a little trickier. A couple of years ago, the union negotiated a dark period where organizations aren't allowed to reach out to non-roster players, is my understanding, unless there's certain, strange circumstances. But
Yeah.
they kind of go on their own for a little bit. I believe the player, if I understand the rules right, can reach out to the athletic trainers and strength coaches, but it has to be initiated by the player. So I don't think they're doing as much a follow-up through the dark period as obviously we are, but it's trying to keep constant communication as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And on that same note, is communication much different for, let's say, a guy who's coming off like a Tommy John or a serious injury, or just a rehabbing player who suffered an injury that kind of lasted through the season versus those who kind of made it through the season healthy? Do you guys stay in touch with certain guys more than others throughout the offseason?
Yeah, when an athlete has a surgery and is rehabbing, whether it's a surgery or non-surgical rehab, that's going into the off season, and we don't know what their status is going to be at spring. Obviously, we're a lot more hands-on. I've gone on 2 trips, and I have another trip planned the next week to go follow up with a player who had a surgery, just to get eyes on that guy, make sure he's where we can give good status as far as what he's doing, where he's at, and try to predict where he's going to be when spring training comes around. Whereas the normal player, we give them guidelines and we follow up with them regularly, but it's not as hands-on as the injured athlete.
And when you mentioned you're taking trips, to see guys who might be rehabbing some serious injuries, are there other folks within the organization who you rely on? Obviously, you don't want to be traveling nonstop to see every player who's rehabbing, but do you rely on, your affiliate athletic trainers, your coordinators, your people at the complex? Who's kind of instrumental in that process of helping you guys out because you can't be everywhere at once?
We have 2 guys who are rehabbing in Lakeland, and that's been great because they've been working with our physical therapist, our strength and conditioning guys, and that's really, on a daily basis where they're at and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. We have one guy who's rehabbing in Puerto Rico, and that's the guy that I've been traveling to see and work with, and he's come to Tampa a couple times, so we've been able to keep eyes on him pretty closely, and that's been great. We've been really fortunate, though, that we haven't had a whole lot of, knock on wood, other rehabs throughout the offseason that we've had to. Our strength and conditioning staff has done an amazing job. Shane Wallen and Drew Heitoff, as far as traveling to go site visits and check on players that are closer to their areas. We used winter meetings as an opportunity to check in on guys in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it's worked out well where nobody's been overworked as far as travel, and we've been able to hopefully spend enough time with our families.
Yeah, definitely a benefit of having larger staffs. As everyone knows, the profession grows and staffs get bigger. In terms of monitoring how players are doing with their rehab or just conditioning or being in shape ready for spring, talk about what the role like technology and data has played in monitoring health and progress. I'm sure when you got into the profession, it was pen and paper, phone calls, a lot of things like that. How much, not easier, but more efficient has the job become, kind of with the instrumental technology and data that's available to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. As technology has evolved, we've evolved with it in the game, and we've utilized it more and more. And instead of a player saying, well, I squatted 135, we can get from their strength coaches, their performance teams that they're working with, we can get analytical data above and beyond that to get a better picture as far as where they're at. Like I said, it's all about trying to make sure everybody's where they need to be at the start when they report to spring training so that we can take it and run from there. And any information we get from the technology that they use at their site is going to help us to paint a better picture of what they're coming in like.
Mm-hmm. And when they come in, I'm sure, physicals happen, a lot of testing, strength wise, and just all across the board to see where they're at when they arrive at spring training. Is it very important for you guys to ensure that people come in a certain condition, or do you kind of use spring training to ramp up, obviously, to get ready, but do you kind of use spring training as a way to prepare for that, or would you like to see, guys coming in certain conditions for, so there's less to do there, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So funny story. When I first started as a clubby, I'll never forget when I worked spring training, Lou Whitaker came in. And Lou Whitaker hadn't touched a weight, hadn't run a sprint because spring training was what he used to get into shape. And those days are far over now. We have an expectation for the level that guys come in ready to go. Pitchers come in and they've thrown off the mound. Hitters have hit BP. They've hit in the cage. Some of them have faced live pitching. That the amount of ramp up time from the report of spring training until the first game is so minimal that if guys don't come in shape and ready to go, they're behind.
Yeah. Do you think I know you mentioned clearly by the story of Lou Whitaker that has changed. No one's coming in like vastly overweight or anything like that. Do you still find that some players, take it more seriously than others in terms of like their off-season preparation for spring?
Absolutely. Every player is different in their mindset, and we worry less about certain players and more about others based off of their work ethic and their drive and what they view as important as far as getting ready. And I've worked with players in the past where you're biting your nails when that guy comes in because he didn't do enough. And in the player's mind, he feels like he did too much. And it's his reality as far as where he needs to be compared to what we know where he needs to be are different. And those are the guys you really, really are nervous about when they come into spring.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear the perspective of maybe the player versus the athletic trainer or the strength and conditioning specialist. One thing I'm always interested to hear about is you mentioned like guys are in Lakeland, you can oversee them very easily. When guys are not in Lakeland and maybe they have their own athletic trainer on the side, maybe they have their own strength guy who they work with. How do you guys balance players who might have like a team they work with in the off season who you might not even know or communicate with? How do you kind of balance the guys who kind of have their own thing on the side, their own people, performance staff, versus like being at the complex?
Our sports medicine performance team has done an amazing job year after year in learning who our players are working with, what strength coach, athletic trainer, physical therapist. And not only do we follow up with the player, but we follow up with the people that they're working with to get the reports from them as well.
Yeah, it's all you always hear about, like the Tom Brady stories and the stuff like that, where they have their own team who are in the building, and I know that's an extreme, but I'm always curious to hear about how that works with a big league club.
In a dream world, everybody would follow our program and do exactly what we want, but these players are trying to get an edge on their teammates as well when it comes to our getting ready for an arbitration season or free agency. That a lot of times they think their guy is better than our guy. And as long as there's communication between strength coaches, athletic trainers, and we know what they're doing and where they're at, that's all we can ask for.
Yeah. And on that same note, Chris, a lot of roster changes and turnover happens. It's part of the game. Interested to hear from you about getting a new player you've never worked with in the building in spring training. So, for example, a big free agent signing, or maybe not a big signing, but just a new guy in the building. Do you speak, who's been with other teams in the big leagues? Do you speak with, for example, you're getting someone in from the Dodgers. Do you give Ron Porterfield or Thomas Albert a call to talk about the guy, his rehab, what he's been doing? I know there's electronic medical records, but how do you prepare yourself for working with a player who you basically never met?
So before any signing ever happens, a big chunk of our offseason is doing free agent medical reviews, where we go through players' files that we get permission to go through their file and look at and assess a medical risk. So we know anybody that we've signed, we know their medical history from that. Ryan Eubanks, Kelly Rhodes, myself have such a wide, vast range of people, that connections we have in Major League Baseball, that of the 29 other teams, there's a good chance one of us knows somebody that player's coming from. And quite often we'll reach out and just in a casual conversation, hey, what do you think of this player? We just signed them. And it's not usually anything too in depth as far as specifics, but you get an idea of the type of person he is, the type of work ethic they have. And we can work with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of speaking with, PBATS members and working with you guys for so many years, is seeing kind of the athletic training trees that branch out and, hearing the stories about calling about this guy or that guy, and really like the old school, just communicating and talking about what a guy's like, his personality. And that kind of leads me to the next question here is, between you, Ryan, and Kelly, you're all different. We're all different human beings and have different strengths, weaknesses, get along differently with people. When you get a new guy in the building, is there usually kind of a feeling of that person attaches himself more to one of the athletic trainers, where they want to work more with one person than the other? How do you balance like the relationships, I guess, in the clubhouse with new players?
We don't overly try to say that's my guy. We try to stay away from that. Now that absolutely happens. Mm-hmm. I've had my guys, Kelly had her guys, where the guy just gravitates to you, whether mm-hmm. it's a trust, whether it's they like what you're doing with them. And we have no egos on our staff. We want what's best for our player. And we have meetings daily about injured players, about players who have concerns. And it might be my guy, the guy that just comes to me. But as a staff, we're going to talk about a plan, and I'll execute the plan that our team feels is best, not necessarily my own agenda. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really feel helps us work so well together, is that we do check our egos at the door, and it's truly what's best for the team. Mm-hmm.
Have you been in situations in your career where that might not have gone as smoothly? Like there's challenges in terms of ego in the training room?
No, I don't think so. I've been fortunate enough to work with some really great athletic trainers throughout the past. Doug Teeter, Kevin Rand, Matt Rankin, Steve mm-hmm. Carter. They're phenomenal athletic trainers and they're team players. And I've been blessed where we haven't had a whole lot of ego as far as, one idea is better than the other just because it came from one person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys have definitely had just the kind of knowing Kevin and all those guys, just great people in general. So makes total sense. You haven't had to worry about that. Well, Chris, in terms of like yourself during the off season, I know there's some education at the winter meetings. There's other conferences. What do you kind of focus on personally and professionally for yourself in the off season to just kind of get ready to improve as an athletic trainer? I know you're motivated to grow and improve, but also to get ready mentally for the grind that's upcoming.
I feel like in the off season, it's important to decompress a little bit. The way the game's evolving at the major league level, there's not really an off season anymore. It's just a season without games. But trying to carve out daily some personal time where I can get to the gym, I can do some things that I enjoy to free my mind, that when spring training rolls around, I'm in a better place. And even during the season, as on the last episode I even touched on, it's important to carve out that time in spring training and during the season, even if it's an hour a day, just to go for a run or get in the gym and do something just to reset your mind. And during the off season, I love learning a new skill, whether it's, this off season, I took a joint manipulation course from the structure and function people, and it made me a better athletic trainer. And I'm excited to take this skill and use it with my players and teach my other athletic trainers the things that I've learned, and they're doing the same thing. We're all taking courses, we're learning new skills, and then we share them with each other.
Yeah, that's great to hear about like a team effort. You might learn something and share that with Kelly and Ryan, and it's cool to hear. That's kind of the process of improving for you guys in the off season. So we talked a bit about spring training. I think this would be something super interesting for the listeners out there. Um, Walk us through kind of that first day, first week at spring training. I know you mentioned like we're already thinking about where are we headed, where are the trunks going after we break at camp. What's the first week like with physicals, with team docs there, with meeting new interns and new staff members? I'm just interested to hear the chaos that kind of happens at the spring training complex when you guys arrive.
I like to think we've got our spring training physical streamlined to the point where it's as minimal chaos as
Okay.
possible. It's more of an organized chaos where we have appointment times for our players. We run it all in our clubhouse building where if guys show up on time, it runs smooth.
Hmm.
Now, as we know, baseball players showing up on time might be one of some of their biggest faults, but it's it's scheduled out, it's planned. The plannings for physicals started last June, July, as far
Wow.
as
Okay.
who's going to work, how the flows, what tests we're going to do, how the flow is going to work. And our physical starts at 6 a.m. in the morning, and our players are out on the field probably by, I think, 10 a.m. It's organized chaos. Everybody gets what they need, gets it done. We get out on the field, and it's a great feeling to get out on the field because it's like, wow, we're done with that physical,
Yeah,
and
for
we can
sure.
we can play baseball now. And
Yep.
the days are long because we have the most amount of guys in camp, and that we're going to have all year, and we work our butts off to try to get every player everything they need. Hopefully, nothing bad happens during the day. Where at the end of the day, we can clean up and go home happy knowing one less day of spring training.
Yeah, and I spent some time with the Texas Rangers in their video department, so I understand the arriving before the sun at the complex and eating three meals there, and basically living there. But walk us through kind of like normal, if you can say normal, but a traditional day of spring training. What time are you getting there? What time are you leaving? Are you traveling to the games throughout Florida? What's kind of like your day to day working with the staff there?
So a normal spring training day, I'm going to try to arrive about an hour early so I can get in the gym and get some sort of a workout in,
Hmm.
reset my mind, get my blood pumping because the day starts so early
Yeah.
that I don't really want to be groggy when we have our morning meeting, which starts at 6:45.
Hmm.
We start with a morning meeting, staff meeting, where the athletic trainers, strength coaches, dietitians get together. We go over any injury concerns. We go over the schedule for the day, and if we have any free time, we might get to know a new athletic trainer. We might take it somewhere else, the meeting somewhere else. 7 o'clock, usually the training room opens, and it's treatments, it's corrective exercise programs. It's a lot of organized chaos in the training room as we're getting to know new players. Returning players are trying to get onto their programs. We might be doing some further assessments with players, all leading towards going outside for practice and
Hmm.
covering making sure all the athletic trainers are on the fields they need to be to cover everything that's going on. We're usually off the field by 1 o'clock, and it's it's lunchtime, it's treatment time, it's strength and conditioning time. If we have a road game, we split it up between Kelly, Ryan, and myself. One of us will travel with one of the minor league athletic trainers. Going on the road trip, you get a nice little nap on the bus, get to the facility, unload our travel trunk, and set up the training room, treatments, and it's just a normal game day at that point. If you don't go on a trip, it's a little bit of a shorter day because you just have a workout group who stays back. You take care of that group, covering their activities, treatments, exercise programs, clean up the training room. You might use the free time to I'm going to be packing the travel trunks for the first road trip.
Hmm.
Might be an opportunity to do some administrative work, putting in orders for more supplies if we need, stuff like that, following up with people. It's once the stay back group is done, your day's done, which is usually a little bit earlier. When the
Yeah.
road trip, the bus comes back, everything's already been done, so it's just a matter of putting that small travel trunk away and cleaning up and heading home.
Yeah, quite the day at spring training for those out there who are breaking into the game, maybe starting their first internship. A good insight there from Chris on what to look out for and how the days are. It's not just getting there, going on the field, getting some workouts in and going home. So good to share that insight there. Well, I want to shift gears from kind of the off season planning and spring training stuff and talk about a special thing that happened this off season for the Tigers athletic training staff. Chris, Ryan, and Kelly were named the Major League Baseball Athletic Training Staff of the Year. Extremely prestigious honor given to one club every year. So I want to talk to you about, what does that recognition mean to you and the staff there in Detroit?
We were blown away. We're absolutely blown away being recognized by our peers as the athletic training staff of the year, and it still hasn't even fully sunk in yet. And we are all honored to receive the award, and we're so excited about it. But the truth of the matter is Kelly, Ryan, and my names are on the award, but it goes so much farther than just those
Yeah.
three people. Shane Wallen, Drew Hightoff, our strength and conditioning coaches, Duncan Evans, our physical therapist, Jim Scholler, our embedded athletic trainer, Maureen Stockheim, our dietitian, our strength athletic training, strength conditioning dietitian staff. We work so closely together that we've kind of knocked down the walls in between departments, and we bleed over into each other's departments. That this is all of their award as well. We could not have done it without them.
Yeah, you guys have just awesome people in Detroit, and I know it's quite a shock when you get there and hear your name announced and you have no idea that it was coming. But really cool to hear. You guys are young staff and new together, so awesome to hear how quickly you've gelled and kind of grown together. You vote for this award. It's voted on by PBAT's membership, who are major league athletic trainers. When you're voting for this award, to share some insight, what do you consider factor wise? Is there like a big event that happened where, a couple years ago, the White Sox had a life-saving intervention for something that happened on the field that was key in them probably winning or being recognized with the award? Do you guys think you had an event or something like that last year, or what do you kind of factor in when you're voting for this award?
When I vote, I look at when obviously, if you see something that's high profile, like a life-saving or a emergency management, and it's handled smoothly and everything goes easily, that stands out in your mind. I also look at when we go into their city, how comfortable am I with the emergency protocols? Have they met with us, or have they given us a phone call and a list of the protocols that they have in place, and do they make sense? Is it good protocols? I also look at the people on the other side, as far as it's hard to tell like what they're doing, but are their athletes staying on the field? Are
Yeah.
they able to keep guys going, or is their IL numbers through the roof, which isn't always a reflection on the staff, but at the same point, short of sitting in their training room and watching what they're doing, it's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And talking more about the staff, Ryan, Kelly, yourself, new leadership came in, last 2 years ago with Ryan Eubanks leading the staff now, coming over from Arizona, and then Kelly coming on, you being kind of a veteran of the Detroit Tigers organization. How have you guys gelled together so quickly? I know it takes time. There's some staffs that have been together for 20, 30 years even. How have you guys kind of hit the ground running, being so new to working together?
I think it's a testament to Ryan and his leadership. It's also Kelly coming in and being such an amazing athletic trainer and a great person to work with. And I think they say the same things about myself, that we're good people. We're pulling for each other. And like I said, we check our egos at the door, and we have three very distinct, different backgrounds that when we get together and have a meeting and we all spit our ideas, we're not spitting the same ideas out. It's three
Yeah.
different ideas for every case. and for us to work together and throw in our strength coaches, our PT, and we get some unique ideas thrown out there, and to be able to sift through the ideas and figure out which one's best. And like I said, we check our egos at the door and we roll with what the team feels is best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, a huge congratulations to you guys. It's an honor that it's awesome to see. Very, very rare to win an award like this. And like I said, it's given to one club every single year. So again, big congratulations to the Tiger staff there. I want to end the show with a topic that's very timely. There's going to be some people with the Tigers and with every staff that are in their first spring training. Showing up, green to the situation, just trying to fit in, probably just, hiding around, observing, figuring out what they're supposed to be doing. You probably remember these exact moments for yourself. What kind of advice would you have, for those interns who may have just landed like a PBATS internship today or in the coming days? What would you recommend they do in terms of like fitting in at spring training, doing what they can do to stand out? What do you kind of think is the best way to go about that as someone new on the staff?
As an intern coming in to a spring training, my first advice is leave your watch in your locker, because there's no punch out time. It's you're working until the job's done. Yeah. Lunch hour isn't an hour. It's when you have an opportunity to eat. These are things like you don't realize. You don't realize when you're coming out of college that you're not going to be done at 5 o'clock. It's when the work's over. You're in a great opportunity to see how baseball works and take it all in and be helpful, be there to assist however the athletic training staff wants you to assist, because some situations might be more hands-on than others. Don't feel like you're worthless if you're not allowed to be hands-on. Take in the knowledge, take it as an opportunity to gain knowledge in athletic training, in baseball, and if you're allowed to do more, great. If you're not, great, because it's going to be a constant opportunity to learn.
That's a great point there, and one I was going to ask you, follow up with. There's a balancing act between a young athletic trainer trying to make too much of an impact versus also like laying in the weeds and not doing enough. I'm sure a lot of these people are looking to be seen and be heard and make an impact, and they want Chris McDonald to know that they exist because you work with the big league team. They want to be in your position one day, but they also need to lay back and observe. So how do you recommend younger athletic trainers balance the need to make a big impact, but also just laying back and learning from you guys?
It's challenging because, like you said, they want to be seen. They want their work to be recognized.
Yep.
But the advice I would give young athletic trainers is don't underestimate how much the major league staff realizes what's going on and what you're doing as a younger athletic trainer or an intern. We see a lot and we know what's going on. We follow up daily with our minor league coordinator, who keeps us informed as far as the good things and the bad things that are going on with each athletic trainer. And you're recognized, your work is recognized more than you would believe.
Mm-hmm. And when you kind of look back on, again, I want you to share some stories about reflecting on your time in the early days. Were there any key mistakes or like stories or things you were scared to do, just that you can share with students out there? Maybe a moment where you messed up or thought you ruined everything, but overcame it. Were there any key challenges like that when you first broke into spring training?
Sure. As a young athletic trainer, I obviously you think you know everything coming out of college. You know, everything's easy. You're going to conquer the world, and was given some instruction on what to do, and I knew better, and I did my own thing, and it didn't work out. And I learned real quickly that, the people above me, they know what they're doing, and they're giving me instruction to what's best for the athlete, one, but also to educate me as far as what's best for the athlete. And as a young athletic trainer, follow direction and ask questions, though. Also, if you think differently, ask why, and do it in a proper way. Don't show up anybody. But when you have the opportunity, ask your questions that they'll get answered. because
Mm-hmm.
we're all here to help younger interns and athletic trainers to grow.
Yeah, and on that same note of helping the athletic trainers develop, obviously you want them to improve and maybe become part of the big league staff one day. That's awesome to see for development within the organization. Do you guys set aside time for one-on-ones with from top to bottom, from interns to coordinators, just to kind of see how they're feeling, what they're doing, what they could get more from you? Do you guys set aside certain time, like each week or each month, for communicating with those younger athletic trainers?
Our major league staff does such a great job of investing in our minor league staff. Last year, we had a lot of young athletic trainers in positions that we had to spend time with them and train them up and get them ready to succeed. And it's something I personally, and I know Kelly and Ryan both as well, we want to help our minor league athletic trainers get better, and we want to see them grow, and we want them to move up, whether it's through the Tiger organization or getting positions in other organizations in the big league level where they can reach their goals.
Mm-hmm. And I'll end with this today. Chris, we obviously appreciate the time. You guys had an awesome year last year, kind of like an under the radar playoff push there. Young team. Is there something headed into 2025 that you're looking forward to most?
I'll be honest, I can't wait to get started again. And so many of our guys from last season are coming back, and I know they're just as excited. That reaching the playoffs was great, but I feel like it only made us hungrier to go even farther. And it's going to be a fun year because I think everybody has that drive of, we all want to get better, whether it's athletic training, strength and conditioning, or the players, where we want to push to the next level.
Yep. Definitely excited for the city of Detroit. A lot of cool things with the Lions and the Tigers and all that good stuff going on. Well, Krish, I appreciate you coming on the show. Always, value your dedication to PBATS and athletic training, and wish you, Ryan, Kelly, and the rest of the bunch nothing but the best of luck at spring training and the season.
Thank you so much for having me on. I truly enjoyed it, and hope to do another one again soon.
Thank you for listening to the Inside Athletic Training Podcast. For more information about PBATS and athletic training, visit pbats.com. See you next time.